Thousands of pitchers have made it to the MLB. Hundreds of thousands of strikeouts have been recorded. But amidst baseball's over a century and a half of history, only a handful of pitchers have ever stuck around long enough to earn 4,500 of those strikeouts. In order of their rank on the all-time K list, these are the only 3 pitchers to ever ring up 4,500 batters. Starting with the third man on the totem pole, who was by far the most infamous of them all.
It was supposed to be a pitcher's duel in federal court in Washington today. Baseball great Roger Clemens is on trial for allegedly lying to Congress when he denied taking steroids and human growth hormone.
Before the dominance, before the controversies, and before the 7 Cy Youngs, to understand how Roger Clemens became the most controversial and arguably most dominant pitcher of all time, we need to first go back to when he was just a young kid from Ohio with a bazooka for an arm. Drafted out of the University of Texas in 1983, Clemens wasted no time making his mark, debuting with the Red Sox at just 21 years old in 1984. But it wasn't until 1986 that the rocket truly arrived.
Matter of fact, I'm going to stand up. A new record! Clemens has set a major league record for strikeouts in a game. 20.
After bursting onto the scene with a 20 strikeout game, Clemens' breakout season was the stuff of legend. At only 23 years old, he had a staggering 2.48 ERA, won an MVP award, and maintained a 24-4 record, which quickly made him the undisputed ace of the Red Sox and the entire league. This wouldn't change for many seasons, because in the following year of 1987, he recorded 18 complete games and a 9.4 WAR. To put that in perspective, last year during Shohei Ohtani's 50-50 season, which many consider to be the most impressive offensive season in recent memory, he had only 9.2 WAR. And then the next year in 1988, Clemens struck out 291 batters. Jacob deGrom, once considered the most dominant pitcher in the league, has only maxed out at 269. Year after year, Clemens racked up awards in his K tally faster than a caffeine-fueled squirrel in a nut factory. But after 13 seasons and 2,590 strikeouts with the Sox, it seemed his best days might be behind him as he headed to Toronto to join the Blue Jays.
Welcome back. Roger Clemens' debut with Toronto tonight against Chicago had a bigger buildup than most wedding nights. It made the Cy Young winner start on opening day seem a lot less important than it should be. For the first time in 14 years, the Rocket Man was set to blast off for someone other than Boston.
Clemens was public enemy number 1 in Boston, and by remaining the Sox neighbor while still in the AL East, nothing would have made the sickos at Fenway Park happier than a Clemens downfall. But instead, he unleashed one of the most stunning second acts of baseball ever seen. In his first season with the Blue Jays at 34 years old, he led the league in wins, ERA, strikeouts, captured the pitching triple crown and another Cy Young award, and struck out 16 batters in his return to Fenway. Clemens wasn't still just good, he was arguably better than ever.
And he's out on strikes reaching. That's 3,000 for Roger Clemens, who strikes out the side.
Clemens had everything at this point. More Cy Youngs than most cats have lives, more strikeouts than a frat house has solo cups, and more money than Scrooge McDuck's vault. But he was missing something: a championship. The Yankees traded for Clemens in 1999, and as if he was the final piece to their team's jigsaw puzzle, the Yankees won back-to-back World Series in his first 2 seasons on the team.
There's another, and he fans him to start the 4th.
Clemens continued to rack up Ks with the Yankees like it was his job, but it becomes time to hang up the cleats for everyone. And in 2003, Clemens announced his retirement at 40 years old. However, like a SpaceX missile coming down to Earth only to refuel, the rocket instead decided to relaunch and join the Astros to start the 2004 season. Like a bad hangover that just refuses to go away, at age 41, Clemens posted a 2.98 ERA en route to his 7th and final Cy Young award, and at 42, while many men can't even stay awake after 3 Bud Lights, he somehow found a way to collect 7.8 more WAR. With 138.7 total WAR, the 3rd most by a pitcher ever, there was no question that after retirement, his career was headed towards Cooperstown. That was until an infamous scandal changed everything.
I'm not saying Senator Mitchell's report is entirely wrong. I am saying Brian McNamee's statements about me are wrong. Let me be clear, I have never taken steroids or HGH.
A private investigation by former U.S. Senator George Mitchell was released on December 13, 2007, which detailed the history of illegal performance-enhancing substances in Major League Baseball, a report which had Clemens' name printed 82 times. Despite what the former Fed claims is indisputable evidence of steroid use, Clemens denied all allegations that he used PEDs. He must not have been too convincing, because very soon after, a secondary investigation on Clemens was run, but not to study his PED usage, instead to discuss his potential perjury before Congress.
Just down the street from the Capitol, Roger Clemens arrived at federal court to face charges he lied to Congress 3.5 years ago, when the 7-time Cy Young Award winner stood before a House panel and denied using performance-enhancing drugs.
Clemens was acquitted of all 6 accounts of lying to Congress, but there is no question that the later years of his career and retirement were completely tarnished by PED allegations. Whether you believe the accusations or not though, one thing is undeniable. Clemens was one of the most overpowering pitchers the game has ever seen. By the time he retired, Clemens had compiled 4,672 strikeouts, the 3rd most in MLB history, and love him or hate him, he left an indelible mark on the game, a mark that is only surpassed by the pitcher in the 2nd slot of the all-time K list, a man who might just be the most dominant pitcher to ever pick up a baseball.
He got it. Look at his teammates. Look at Randy Johnson. A perfect game.
The big unit is without a doubt one of the most feared pitchers to step on a major league field. Standing as tall as the Burj Khalifa on the mound at 6 foot 10 inches, Johnson had hitters more likely to take a duty in their pants than to get a hit. But the story of how he went from a wild and inconsistent young pitcher to one of the greatest to ever play the game is nothing short of extraordinary. Johnson's journey started in 1988 when he made his MLB debut at 25 years old with the Montreal Expos. The big lefty had an electric fastball, but he was raw and had an early career completely out of control. His wildness wasn't just a minor flaw. He walked 128 batters in Double-A alone. And during a rehab assignment, his pitching coach had to put a mannequin in the batter's box because his teammates were too afraid to stand there while he threw. It wasn't long before Johnson was dumped to the Seattle Mariners, and still, despite his towering presence, his control was a major obstacle. By the time he was 28, Johnson had only 48 career wins, and many thought his wild pitching style would prevent him from ever becoming a consistent major league player. But then came a turning point in 1992.
And I said, "Randy, you doing all right?" He said, "Nah, man, I'm having trouble. Can't throw strikes." And Nolan pops up and said, "Hey, Randy, we're going to be here tomorrow about the same time. Why don't you all stop by and we'll work on some things?" So we did. We made one small change in Randy's stride and the way he landed. 3 weeks later, he struck out 18 of us in 8 innings.
Nolan Ryan had battled his own control problems early in his career, and his tutelage seemed to be the master Oogway to Johnson's Poe. The advice that Ryan gave changed the trajectory of Johnson's entire career, and by 1993, the new and improved big unit was born. He finished the season with a 19-8 record, led the American League with 308 strikeouts, and finished 2nd in Cy Young voting. He followed that up with an even more dominant 1995 season, going 18-2 with a 2.48 ERA and 294 strikeouts. Johnson's dominant performance helped the Mariners to win their first playoff series in 1995, and he became the first pitcher in franchise history to earn a Cy Young Award. But the big unit's most memorable performances were not even close to existing yet.
Banged up body, a little extra rest. Soriano strikes out, 2 out.
In 1999, right after a major back surgery, Johnson joined the Arizona Diamondbacks, and in only the team's 2nd year of existence, he led the majors in strikeouts and won a 2nd Cy Young. But that was only the beginning, because what Johnson did over the next 4 seasons was absurd. In the height of the steroid era, an age where power numbers were through the roof, Randy had the most utterly destructive pitching stretch ever witnessed. Johnson started 1999 with 364 strikeouts. Then in 2000, 347 strikeouts. Then in 2001, 372 strikeouts. And finally in 2002, 334 strikeouts. To put that in perspective, in no season since 2002 has one pitcher ever surpassed 334 strikeouts, and that was the lowest total that Randy posted during this 4-year stretch. Not including seasons from the boring 1800s, Randy's 372 strikeouts is the 3rd highest in any season ever. And if his career was only 4 years long, the 1,417 strikeouts he had from 1999 to 2002 alone would rank him in the 103rd spot on the all-time K leaderboard. And let's not forget how much of a beast he was in the 2001 World Series. series.
And so far in this postseason, 2-1 with a fantastic ERA.
And vying to win his 4th Cy Young Award, and he could do it this year.
In Game 2, the big unit pitched a complete game shutout, allowed only 3 hits and 4 base runners in a 4-0 victory, and then in a must-win Game 6, down 3-2 in the series, he was again the D-backs starter and pitched 7 innings, struck out 7, and allowed only 2 runs. Following that, in Game 7, Arizona made the decision to have Johnson relieve Curt Schilling on short rest, and in the 8th inning, while down 2-1, Johnson took the game into the bottom of the 9th with no runs scored, ultimately allowing the D-backs to make a miraculous rally against Mariano Rivera and send the winning run home.
A well-deserved co-recipients, Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling. Congratulations.
Johnson and Curt won co-MVPs for the series, but Johnson was far from done, because as he aged after 2001, he continued to obliterate expectations. At age 41, he became the oldest pitcher ever to throw a perfect game, striking out 13 batters in a 2004 contest against the Atlanta Braves. And by the time he retired in 2009, he had amassed 303 career wins, 5 Cy Young Awards, and the most strikeouts by a left-handed pitcher of all time at 4,875. His career achievements are so absurdly impressive that they sound as if they come from a fictional movie. And his journey from a wild, unrefined prospect to one of the best pitchers to ever play the game is a huge testament to his talent, work ethic, and unwavering determination. But the craziest part of it all is that none of it would have ever happened without the help of the final boss pitcher atop the all-time K leaderboard.
He was like Superman.
But then when you do meet him, he's Nolan Ryan.
Nolan Ryan was one of the most feared pitchers in MLB history. Nolan regularly threw 100 miles an hour in an age where the league norm was in the mid to low 90s, and he was once even rumored to throw a pitch 108 miles per hour. He was scarier on the rubber than a drunk college kid with an orange traffic cone, and more relentless than one too. He once got hit in the head with a ground ball, started spewing blood everywhere, probably hucked chewed a couple of teeth on the floor, and then stayed in the game and pitched 7 more innings. And at 46 years old, he literally beat the pulp out of a much younger player charging the mound. But his career was not always this electric, because back at the start, he looked more like a probable bust than the greatest to ever do it. After being signed by the Mets in 1965, he started off strong by striking out 307 batters in 202 innings, and being described by Mets scout Red Murph as the best arm he's ever seen in his life. But in the years following, he struggled extremely with major inconsistencies. From 1966 to 1971, he pitched in 105 games, but his ERA of 3.58 was slightly above the league average, and with a ridiculous amount of walks, he was often relegated to a back-end role. His future for the Mets seemed uncertain, which is why in 1971, they seemed to have had enough of him as he was traded away to the California Angels, a team that had never even made the playoffs before. The trade could have been a career death sentence, but it actually marked a major turning point in Ryan's career.
Nolan Ryan 1 out away from pitching the 3rd no-hit, no-run game by a California Angel pitcher.
Under the guidance of pitching coach Tom Morgan, by 1972, Ryan found a way to lead the league in strikeouts and shutouts with 329 and 9 respectively, and from there on out, what he was about to do was utterly ridiculous. From 1973 to 1979, he led the league each year in strikeouts except for one, which topped out in 1973 with an absurd 383 strikeouts. That year, Nolan faced 1,355 batters. With 162 walks, which also led the league, that meant there was a 40% chance that any batter Nolan faced would either walk or strike out. Or in other words, there was a 40% chance a hitter facing Nolan could swing 0 times and not affect the outcome of the at-bat at all. If Barry Bonds in 2004 was the king of true outcome hitters, then Nolan Ryan in 1973 was the king of true outcome pitchers.
California's Nolan Ryan set the all-time season strikeout record, pitched 4 no-hitters, and 3 times in one season fanned 19 while pitching for a last-place team.
Even on a last-place team, Nolan was a goated power pitcher. He wasn't trying to pitch around you, he was trying to pitch through you, to the point that one batter was so frustrated with Nolan that he got a table leg from the locker room and headed off to home plate to take his swings with it, but he was informed by the umpire Ron Luciano that he couldn't use it, to which he replied, "Why not? I won't hit him anyway." By 1980, Nolan needed a change of scenery, so he headed off to Houston. and in the process, he reached mythological levels of baseball greatness. At this point, he already had 5 no-hitters under his belt, and even though he was 34, there was an absurd amount of gas left in the tank. His strikeout numbers kept climbing, and by 1983 at 36, he surpassed Walter Johnson's all-time strikeout record of 3,509. Even though Nolan was getting older, his arm was still fresher than a t-shirt right out of the dryer, because for the following few seasons, he kept on chugging and racking up Ks like the little engine that could. Then at the age of 40, Nolan had a second wind of baseball that was absolutely earth-shattering. From 1987 to 1990, from ages 40 to 43, Ryan once again led the league in strikeouts each year with 270, 228, 301, and 232 respectively. To put that in perspective, during Clayton Kershaw's peak years, he threw 239 strikeouts as the Cy Young and MVP in 2014, and then 301 strikeouts as a third-place Cy Young vote in 2015. That means that Nolan Ryan was just as dominant or even more dominant than Clayton Kershaw, while Clayton was 27 and Nolan was 42. While Nolan miraculously never won a Cy Young, by the time he retired, he had amassed a mind-bending 5,714 strikeouts, which is the most in MLB history, and a title as the strikeout king that with the rising occurrence of Tommy John, he will probably hold forever. Nolan was the hardest throwing pitcher of an entire generation. While his fastest pitch of 108 miles per hour was recorded with outdated techniques, it puts him on an equally exclusive list of the only pitchers to ever throw a ball over 104 miles per hour. Watch our video on the only 7 pitchers to ever reach 104 to see what number other flamethrowers like Aroldis Chapman and Ben Joyce have reached on the radar gun.